to the Entrepreneur Success Formula podcast, where we'll be getting down to earth with real entrepreneurs who work hard and know that success is more than a mindset, as it takes blood, guts, and a bucket full of luck to survive and thrive in the world of business today. And in this episode, I am speaking with Matthew Rolph, who's CEO of Graph UK, which is an SME in the UK specializing in water management within the construction industry. And it's especially pertinent right now, bearing in mind the current weather patterns that we're having in the UK and in the world, which is all due to global warming. But we're going to dig down into that in a little bit because Graph UK have a particular campaign going out which is addressing that. So Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Damien.
A typical crazy introduction. So tell me, when was Graph UK launched, and where did it come from? Because it's not actually a UK company, is it?
No. So we started trading as Graph UK in March 2014. Previously, though, we were importing products from the German company Graph. Since 2007, actually, but they acquired our business in early 2014 when they wanted to, or they felt that they were ready to invest more in the UK and focus more on the market here.
Okay, and this Graph in Germany has a big recycling plant, is that right?
Yes, yeah. So this is one of the many improvements that they've made certainly since we've been dealing with them. They focus a huge amount on, all of our products are plastic. So the majority of them now are made out of 100% recycled plastic, which is obviously a very necessary thing to do if you're involved in selling anything plastic. So yeah, it's a really good improvement that our business has made. To make sure that the majority of everything we sell was once yogurt pots and milk containers and all domestic household plastic waste.
Okay, fantastic. We'll come back onto that again in a minute because I think that's actually a really crucial part. So, right, coming back to you as an entrepreneur, what's been the biggest mental challenge you've personally had to overcome as an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest personal challenge is realizing that you're not going to please everybody, and that you're sometimes going to annoy people, and that's okay. You know, I think I'm still not great with that now, but I think it's a big challenge that you'll be better as an entrepreneur once you've overcome that.
Yeah.
Because whether it's being worried about the emails that you're sending out or ringing people, or it's up to other people whether they read your stuff or watch your stuff. It's not up to you to make it perfect for everyone to like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important thing to learn. Difficult thing to learn, of course. Some people find it easier than others to not care about these things, but certainly for myself, that was a difficult thing to overcome.
I remember hearing Dan Kennedy say once, if you don't annoy someone by lunchtime, you're not trying hard enough, which I thought was quite funny.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a hell of a lot of sense. But if you care about what people think, that's a really, really difficult rule to live by.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so with the benefit of hindsight, if you had to start all over again, what would be the one thing that you would do differently?
I would, as much as possible, I would try to record nearly everything on video. I think what I've really noticed in our company's changed a huge amount in the last 4 or 5 years. We've gone from 7 people up to nearly 40 people, and every time you take someone new on, they've got the same things to learn as all of us learned in the first place, and video is hugely valuable in that respect, if you can sit them down and show them lessons that we've already learned, because otherwise we're just repeating the same things over and over again. And I think to capture it right from the start as much as possible on video, but even if not on video, even just to write down a few notes after big lessons, after things that you've got really, really wrong, or things that you've got really, really right. I think the more you document as you go along, the better. We haven't done that as much as I would like to have. So that's what I would do if I started again.
Fantastic. Okay, so slightly different now. So what's the one piece of advice you would give to a young entrepreneur starting out today in the current climate with everything that's going on with, obviously we've got Brexit right now, but what would be the advice you would give to someone who's just starting out, or someone pivoting as well, because we've got a lot of people that are obviously changing.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, and I'm actually still trying to do this now, is to make sure that you have access. I mean, basically, it's about your network. I think to make sure that you have people that you can ask, because every book I've read or every kind of successful entrepreneur that I've spoken to, they've all said that they certainly didn't do it on their own, and that whatever you're trying to do, someone's already done it before. But just to kind of make sure that you've got a team of people around you, or they don't necessarily have to work for you. You can just know who to call, so that when you need some help, you've got someone to ask. I think that's the most important thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's too easy just to try and do everything on your own and really not make much progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we've had a few people on here saying the same bit of advice. They would get help from other people earlier. So, okay, what is the best piece of advice that you can remember that's been given to you by someone else? It could be a business coach, it could be a mentor, or even a friend.
Yeah, no, this is quite an easy one for me, because I was told this maybe no more than 2 years ago, but I remember it often, and that is just whether it's a big decision, or particularly when you hear something that you don't like, or you react to something, sleep on it for one night before you respond.
Very good.
Like just wait until the next day, because and this is definitely I've regretted not doing this a number of times, but everything can wait one day, and just pause, sleep on it, and then decide what to do the following morning.
I love that. Great piece of advice. Okay, so if you were in charge of UK business right now, which I wouldn't envy anyone who is, bearing in mind what's currently going on, but if you were in charge of UK business, what piece of legislation would you help to introduce? Would you introduce to help entrepreneurs?
Well, this is a really tricky one, because I'm not sure legislation wise. I thought of two possibly practical things that might help. Firstly, for businesses that need premises, I would want to see the rates charged, the council tax rates lowered, because realistically, you're not getting anything for your money. You don't even get your bins emptied on an industrial estate like where we are. And I think that it prohibits a lot of businesses from growing as quickly as they could, because they don't have the space that they need. Mm-hmm. So I just think that's a crazy charge, and it's not linked with how successful the business is or anything like that. It's just, if you take on a big warehouse or big offices, then you're paying a huge amount for rates, and it can kill a lot of, or make it difficult for businesses in the early days. The other thing I thought was, there should be some sort of incentive for hiring more people. I think that it's up to a maximum, up to a maximum of 10 perhaps. I think once you've got 10 people, you should be, hopefully, ideally, you should be able to sustain, the costs as they are. But I think to get to that point, it's helpful for the economy and for the country if entrepreneurs are encouraged to take on more staff, and it's a big cost. And I think to get to that point, you should have some help, or could have some help.
I like that. Okay, so I noticed that you've got a campaign that's being launched called H2O Safe, which is very pertinent, as I said, at the moment, because we are actually in the middle of having some very dangerous flooding happening in the UK. In fact, loss of life has already happened as a result of it. So in that respect, what are your plans for the future, and what is H2O Safe?
Yeah, so as you say, this weekend alone has been awful in terms of flood damage, and the weather is getting more and more extreme. So the whole thought behind this campaign that we're really pushing on our LinkedIn and other social media channels, H2O Safe, is to get more people talking about better use of water and better management of water. We've got 3 top priorities, which are preventing flooding in increasingly extreme weather conditions through stormwater management. Stormwater management being a big part of our business, huge underground tanks that slow down the rate at which the stormwater is infiltrated into the ground, basically to prevent flooding. The second thing is preventing sewage being discharged into watercourses. So wastewater treatment and sewage treatment plants is another big part of our business. Making sure that the water is treated before going into rivers and ditches and streams is incredibly important. And then the third, which is a very, very easy thing to do, but is not done by many people at all, is putting the precious resource of rainwater to good use through rainwater harvesting. Lots of people do this on a domestic scale. They have a water butt in their back garden. They collect the rainwater that falls on their roof, and they might use a few buckets of water to, water their plants or wash their car or something. But it's equally as easy to do that on a slightly bigger scale, to collect more of that water and reuse it for flushing your toilets. And it can cut down the mains water use by half on a domestic property. It can do much more than that in some businesses where they use a lot of water. But the focus is to save as much mains water as possible and use the rainwater that's already there.
So in terms of, because obviously the Met Office has put predictions on this about extreme weather conditions. How come there's a disconnect between the amount of water we're going to be getting as precipitation and our ability to actually kind of conserve it and use it?
I think that awareness is partly is part of it. As in, I don't think that many people know it's that possible. I don't think water, because water is so cheap here in the UK, especially compared with some countries, it doesn't get given the value that it should or could have. Your water bill is not something the majority of people moan about in the same way that phone bills or heating bills or whatever can be. And so whilst you can get your mains water and, pay not a lot of money for it, people aren't thinking about it as much as they could be. Yeah.
I mean, we are made up of mostly water, and we've seen this last weekend how destructive water can be. I mean, it's almost like it's at the opposite end of the scale. It's such a vital part of life, but it's also very destructive to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy thing is certainly, I said crazy. The good thing is with planning permissions, and a lot of thought goes into surface water management, or stormwater management before buildings are built now, so that it has to be managed, and flooding should be less possible. But I think several people would probably still argue that because of houses being built on floodplains and things like that. But the Environment Agency dictates, what size stormwater tank has to go underground, because the rainwater post construction should infiltrate into the soil at the same rate as it did before the building was built. So it's definitely something that's considered. One thing that's not considered as much as we would like it to be is the fact that you could also put that water to good use. Instead of just putting a big tank there to hold it and slow it down when it does in big storm events, you could hold it and reuse it. But that doesn't get done as much as we hope it will be in the future.
Well, I think your campaign is really important. I think it's really vital, and I think the timing for it is absolutely spot on. I mean, bearing in mind that in the UK, we kind of do things better than in a lot of other countries, and we've already been told that water is going to be the new oil, in sort of 20, 30, 40 years' time. So I think to have this awareness being launched now or being, talked about now is absolutely amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, our main priority so far is just to engage with more people about it, talk about it more, and hopefully things will continue to improve.
Fantastic. And finally, what is your favorite business book and why?
Oh, come on. It's the very first one I read. It's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And it's mainly my favorite one because it is the first one that got me started on this sort of journey. But they're just fundamental principles which still apply now. It was probably written a long time ago, that book, but it's just as relevant today as it was when he first brought it out. And it's an excellent starting point. Should be read over and over again.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Matthew, for joining me today and for taking this brief delve into the real lives of real entrepreneurs. Anyone listening to the show or watching on YouTube, can I ask that you share this podcast with anyone who who works hard and would benefit from it, and to like us on iTunes and YouTube as we're going out on both, and to hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to take part in the show, please drop me an email, Damien with an A at rethinkingbusiness.biz, and we can have a chat and see if we can get you on. And every guest on the show receives my complimentary copy of my online course of the Entrepreneur Success Formula. So I will be sending that to you, Matthew. And here's to your success, and here's to our listeners' success and our viewers' success. And see you all soon. Thanks very much for taking part.